Strontium Fields is the latest full-length album from Slomatics, a Northern Ireland-based sludge doom metal band, and one that has a heavy psychedelic affect to a lot of their work. Now, this group has been around since the early 2000s, I would say. There was a former sort of a group that they kind of built this band out of the knot, and that they kind of broke up back around 2004. And their style has been often early on it was the style of sludge you would expect back in 2003. That was a stoner sludge. It was not exactly Electric Wizard adjacent, but more riff oriented and aggressive, and definitely translated into both of the bands that split off from the knot. There was an aggressive, chunking groove to all of the things that they did, and that really set the tone for what this band was known for, which was a huge guitar sound, very big groove-oriented riffs, and that isn't all what they've always done. They've were perhaps better known after their split with Conan, and it was a much more atmospheric side of the band at that time. They'd switched up some key members. Their drummer switched out. Their vocalist was the drummer, so there was a lot of change that happened really fast. And what we found was that Mark II, or the second generation of the band, which came about in the 2010s, was definitely a lot more aggressive and raw and sort of jammed and a little bit messier and aggressive. So they leaned on the side of sludge for a trilogy of albums. Now, for me, Estron was where the band really broke for me. It was a kind of a somewhere between psychedelic doom metal, sludge metal, and a kind of cathedral in a lot of ways. And they've kind of gone in a more accessible direction from that point once they got noticed. And what I mean is that the aggressive sludge vocals turned to something a little bit more related to traditional doom metal, and that's kind of where we can pick up and start listening to this new song. And we'll catch a clip right here. So when I reviewed Canyons back in 2019, I didn't really grasp what they were trying to do with it. I sort of understood. I was underwhelmed by it, but I came to appreciate the big change that had happened with Slomatics on that record. And I think that if you go back and really dig into that record, it'll prepare you quite well for what they've done here, because it's this Strontium Fields is very similar in the sense that the use of their keyboards is both subtle and overt. Their vocals are typically clean and dramatic and very beautiful in tone, actually, a lot of the times. And they're carrying these songs vocally more often, even though they are somewhat still inflected by traditional doom metal, by stoner doom metal, by psychedelic rock, and there's sludge metal in there in the riffing most of the time. So there's a lot that they are putting into these songs, but they read quite simply and accessibly. So that's going to be a big change if you missed Canyons and you just know their earlier work. And I think that's kind of the divide, is that this is a little bit more dramatic. It's a little bit more everything, and they fit in a lot of the things they are known for. So the signature is still there, but the voice of the band has changed quite a lot, and beyond 2016. So that's something to. I mean, I think it's probably the most. I hate to say it, but it's the most musical side of the band we've heard, and especially on this album, where it does breach into some very accessible work, which may or may not be your thing. For me, I think this is a high point for the band, especially now that I've taken a closer look at Canyons and appreciated where they've taken it on this record. So very high score for me. It is a high recommendation, just teetering on a very high score, but overall I think it'll depend how it holds up over the rest of the year. So check that out. It's came out last week, and you can listen to it now and read the review if you feel like it.